Welcome, dear listeners, to Fairy Tale Nights, a place where dreams take flight and stories weave the magic of slumber. Tonight, we invite you to sink into the soft embrace of your bed, pull up your warm blankets, and let your imagination drift away. Breathe deeply, let go of the day's worries, and relax as we journey together into a magical winter wonderland. This is a tale of wonder, courage, and warmth. A perfect story for a cold winter's night. Are you ready? Then let us begin. Once upon a time, in a small, snow-covered village nestled in a quiet valley, winter held everything in its icy grasp. The village of Frosthaven was beautiful, its cobblestone streets blanketed in snow, and icicles hanging like glittering jewels from the rooftops. But despite its beauty, the village was silent and cold, much like the hearts of its people. The winters had grown longer and harsher over the years, leaving the villagers tired and distant. They rarely spoke to one another, and their once lively town square stood empty. Even the annual winter solstice festival, a tradition passed down through generations, had been canceled for the first time in memory. It seemed that joy and connection had frozen under the weight of the relentless winter. Alara, a young woman with bright eyes and a heart full of hope, often wandered the empty streets. She remembered stories her grandmother had told her about the village's past. A time when Frosthaven was known for its warmth, where music and laughter echoed even in the coldest months. Deep in her heart, Elora yearned to bring back that joy, though she wasn't sure how. On the coldest day of the season, a mysterious figure arrived in Frosthaven. Bundled in a thick cloak of white fur, the stranger carried a lantern that glowed with a soft golden light, like the first rays of dawn. The villagers watched from their windows as the stranger made their way to the center of the square. When the figure spoke, their voice rang out clear and warm, like a melody that thawed the frost in the air. "People of Frosthaven," the stranger began, "I'm here to help. I bring a gift that will chase away the endless winter, but I need your help to unlock its power." The villagers, curious but wary, stepped out of their homes. Among them was Alara. Known for her kindness, Elora had always dreamed of restoring the village's joy. She was the first to approach the stranger. "What is this gift?" Alara asked. The stranger smiled and held up the lantern. "Inside this lantern is the flame of solstice, a magic light that brings warmth, hope, and renewal. But it can only grow if fed by acts of kindness, courage, and connection. Are you willing to help?" Alara nodded without hesitation, her heart stirred by the stranger's words. But some villagers murmured their doubts. "What good can kindness do against such a relentless winter?" asked the blacksmith, shaking his head. Still, a spark of hope had been lit, and Elora was determined to prove that the stranger's words were true. Alara's first act was simple but meaningful. She visited her elderly neighbor, Master Wren, who lived alone in a house at the edge of the village. Master Wren had been a master storyteller, but he hadn't told a tale in years. Cold had seeped into his bones, and loneliness had silenced his once vibrant voice. Alara brought him a warm loaf of bread and sat by his hearth, listening as he hesitantly began to share a story. His voice was shaky at first, but as he spoke, it grew steadier, and a spark of his old passion returned. As he finished, the golden light in the stranger's lantern flickered brighter, visible even from afar. Word spread quickly, and other villagers began to follow Alara's lead. The blacksmith, who rarely smiled, started repairing tools for free. The baker gave away extra loaves to hungry children. Even the gruff fisherman, who preferred the company of the frozen lake, taught a young boy how to fish through the ice. Each act of kindness seemed to brighten the lantern's glow, and for the first time in years, laughter echoed through the village. Alara's acts didn't stop there. She organized a group to clear the snow from the paths leading to the village chapel, allowing the elderly and the ill to gather and find comfort. She visited the village's orphanage, bringing blankets she had mended herself and teaching the children songs from her childhood. Every act, no matter how small, seemed to warm the air around her, and soon others were inspired to do the same. One morning, a fierce snowstorm rolled into the valley. The villagers huddled in their homes, fearing the worst. The winds howled like wolves, and the snow fell so thickly that it erased the landscape. But Alara, watching the stranger's lantern dimming in the storm's shadow, knew they couldn't give up. "We must face this storm together," she declared. Gathering a small group of volunteers, she ventured out into the blizzard. They knew of a family who had been stranded on the forest's edge, searching for firewood to keep their hearth alight. The journey was treacherous. Cold bit through their cloaks, and the wind threatened to drive them back at every step. But Alara led the way, her determination unwavering. She held the stranger's lantern high, its glow a beacon in the storm. When they found the family, huddled and shivering under a makeshift shelter, the villagers wrapped them in blankets and carried them back to safety. By the time they returned, the storm had begun to subside, revealing a breathtaking landscape of glittering snow and ice. The flame of solstice burned brighter than ever, casting its warm glow over the entire village. The courage of Alara and her companions had shown that even the fiercest storms could be weathered when faced together. As the villagers celebrated their triumph over the storm, the stranger approached Alara with a new challenge. "The flame of solstice has grown strong, but its light is not yet eternal," the stranger explained. "To ensure the flame lasts beyond this season, you must venture into the Forest of Whispers. Hidden deep within is the heartwood tree, where the first flame was kindled centuries ago. It is guarded by the spirits of winter, who will test your resolve." Alara, accompanied by a few brave villagers, embarked on the journey. The Forest of Whispers was a place of haunting beauty, where snowflakes seemed to linger in the air like suspended stars, and the trees whispered secrets with every gust of wind. As they ventured deeper, the spirits appeared, manifesting as shimmering figures cloaked in frost. The first spirit demanded an offering of selflessness. Alara gave her scarf to a spirit shaped like a shivering child. The second spirit tested their unity, conjuring illusions to separate the group. But by holding hands and trusting one another, they broke the spell. The final spirit tested their hope, shrouding the path to the heartwood tree in darkness. Alara lit the way with the lantern, its golden glow piercing the shadows. At last, they reached the heartwood tree, an ancient, towering oak with branches that seemed to hold the sky. Alara placed the lantern at its base, and the flame of solstice leapt upward, igniting the tree in a cascade of golden light. The spirits bowed and vanished, their task complete. With the storm behind them, Alara proposed reviving the winter solstice festival. At first, there was hesitation. The villagers weren't sure they could reclaim the joy of old traditions. But as they began to prepare, the magic of connection took over. The children, excited to contribute, adorned the town square with garlands of evergreen and colorful ribbons of red and gold. They worked tirelessly, stringing up the decorations while their laughter echoed through the frosty air. Families gathered to craft handmade ornaments from pine cones, berries, and scraps of fabric, each item a symbol of their shared hope and unity. The baker, inspired by the newfound warmth in the village, created a variety of winter treats, filling the air with the aromas of cinnamon, nutmeg, and cloves. He introduced a special dish, the solstice star pie, a spiced dessert shaped like the star atop the village square's central evergreen tree. People eagerly lined up outside the bakery to sample his creations, sharing cheerful conversations while warming their hands with mulled cider. Meanwhile, the blacksmith transformed his shop into an impromptu workshop for crafting delicate ice sculptures. He encouraged others to join him, teaching them how to carve intricate patterns into blocks of ice. Together, they shaped animals, snowflakes, and mythical creatures, their creations glistening in the soft light of the lantern. Alara spearheaded the creation of lanterns for the festival's evening procession. She invited families to join her in the community hall, where tables were laid out with paper, glue, and small candles. Under her guidance, each family designed their lantern, decorating it with personal touches such as symbols of kindness, bravery, or unity. Parents and children laughed together as they worked, their joy illuminating the room. The day of the festival arrived, and the transformation of the village was breathtaking. The square shimmered with twinkling lights, and the evergreen tree in the center stood tall, adorned with ornaments and topped with a golden star. Music filled the air as a group of villagers, led by Alara, sang songs of hope and renewal. Their voices harmonized beautifully, carrying a warmth that even the coldest night couldn't dispel. As dusk fell, the lantern procession began. Villagers of all ages gathered with their handmade lanterns, each one glowing softly. Alara led the way, carrying the flame of solstice, its golden light casting a warm glow over the crowd. They walked through the village, their steps slow and deliberate, a symbol of the unity they had rebuilt. The procession ended in the square, where the lanterns were placed around the evergreen tree, creating a circle of light that seemed to embrace the entire village. Master Wren, inspired by the atmosphere, stepped forward to tell his grandest tale yet. He spoke of Frosthaven's history, weaving stories of resilience and connection, his voice painting vivid pictures that captivated the crowd. The villagers listened intently, their hearts swelling with pride and gratitude for their shared journey. The festival concluded with a joyous celebration. People danced under the stars, their laughter mingling with the music. Children played games, and elders exchanged stories of winters past. For the first time in years, Frosthaven felt truly alive, its spirit rekindled by the flame of solstice. As the festival reached its peak, the strangers stepped forward, their lantern now blazing like the midday sun. "You have proven that the spirit of Frosthaven is as bright as ever," the stranger said. "The flame of solstice is no longer needed, for its magic now lives within you." The villagers gathered around, their faces alight with gratitude and curiosity. Alara stepped forward, holding the lantern reverently. The stranger's voice carried a warmth that seemed to melt away the last remnants of fear and doubt. The magic of the flame was never in this lantern alone, the stranger continued, their eyes sweeping across the crowd. "It has always been in your hearts, waiting to be kindled. You needed only to remember how to light it with your kindness, courage, and unity." The villagers exchanged glances, their expressions a mixture of awe and realization. The stranger turned to Alara, their voice softening. "Alara, you have been the spark that reignited this village. Keep this lantern not as a source of power, but as a reminder that even the coldest winters can be warmed by the bonds we share." Alara took the lantern, its golden glow reflecting in her eyes. "Thank you," she said, her voice steady, "for showing us the way." With a final smile, the stranger raised a hand and a gust of wind swirled around them. Snowflakes danced in the air, shimmering like tiny stars. In the blink of an eye, the stranger vanished, leaving behind only the glow of the lantern and a sense of profound peace. The villagers stood in silence for a moment, their hearts full. Then, one by one, they began to cheer, their voices ringing out into the night. Alara held the lantern high, its light shining like a beacon of hope. "This light," she said, addressing the crowd, "is not just mine. It belongs to all of us. Together, we've proven that even the darkest times can be brightened by the warmth we create." The villagers erupted into applause, their spirits soaring. They knew that the stranger's gift was not just the flame, but the rediscovery of their own strength and unity. As the festival continued, the light of the lantern seemed to grow even brighter, a symbol of the enduring bond that now united Frosthaven. The villagers found themselves transformed, their hearts no longer weighed down by the harshness of winter. The lessons learned from the stranger and the flame of solstice became the foundation for new traditions. Alora suggested that every year, the village should honor acts of kindness and courage by sharing their stories during the winter solstice festival. The children, who had learned songs from Alara, composed a new melody, one that celebrated hope and resilience. They named it the Solstice Song, and every year it was sung to mark the lighting of the festival lanterns. The baker created a special solstice loaf. Master Wren began teaching young villagers the art of storytelling, passing on the legacy of Frosthaven's history. "Stories," he said, "are the warmth we carry through the cold, a reminder of who we are and the bonds that hold us together. As the years passed, Frosthaven became a beacon of light and warmth in the valley. Travelers spoke of its legendary festival and the golden lantern that hung in the town square, a symbol of unity and hope. The harsh winters still came, but the villagers faced them together, their spirits unyielding and their hearts aglow. Alara, now a revered elder in the village, continued to light the flame of solstice every year. Her hair, once as dark as midnight, had turned silver like the frost on the rooftops, but her spirit remained as bright as ever. The villagers had grown to cherish her guidance, and each year they gathered around her to witness the ceremony of the lantern. On her final solstice festival, a crisp winter's night that shimmered under a clear sky full of stars, Alara stood before the village with the flame of solstice in her hands. She looked out at the faces of her friends, her family, and the generations that had grown under her care. The air was filled with a quiet reverence as she prepared to pass the lantern to its next guardian. Among the crowd stood a young girl named Lyora. Her eyes shone with the same curiosity and warmth that Alara had carried in her youth. Lyora had spent her days helping in the bakery, sharing stories with Master Wren, and singing songs of hope with the other children. Her heart was as bright as the flame Alara held. Calling Lyora forward, Alara knelt before her, placing the lantern gently in her hands. "Flame," she said, her voice steady and filled with wisdom, "is not just in this lantern. It is in your heart and in the hearts of everyone here. Keep it burning, and Frosthaven will always thrive." Lyora looked up at Alara, her small hands cradling the lantern as though it were the most precious treasure in the world. "I will," she promised, her voice clear and unwavering. The villagers erupted in cheers, their voices rising in joyous harmony as they welcomed their new guardian of the flame. That year, the flame of solstice burned brighter than ever, its light spreading far beyond the valley. Travelers passing by Frosthaven spoke of the golden glow that lit the night sky, a beacon of warmth and unity. Some said the light touched the stars themselves, a sign that the village's spirit had become eternal. As the festival continued, Alara watched from the steps of the town hall, wrapped in a warm shawl. She smiled as she saw the villagers dancing, children chasing each other around the evergreen tree, and Lyora proudly leading the lantern procession. Her heart was full, knowing that the legacy of kindness, courage, and connection she had nurtured would endure. Later that night, as the final song of the festival echoed through the village, Alara looked up at the stars. She whispered a silent prayer of gratitude, not for herself, but for the people of Frosthaven who had reminded her time and again that even the darkest winters could be warmed by the light they carried within. From that day on, the flame of solstice became more than a tradition. It became a symbol of the enduring strength and unity of Frosthaven. And though Alara's time as its guardian had passed, her spirit remained in the stories, songs, and hearts of the villagers, a light that would never fade. And so, dear listeners, the village of Frosthaven learned that even in the coldest of winters, warmth can be found in the hearts of those around us. When we come together with kindness, courage, and connection, we create a light that no storm can extinguish. As you lie in the comfort of your bed tonight, think about the ways you can bring warmth to the world around you. It doesn't have to be grand. A small act of kindness, a simple smile, or a few words of encouragement can ignite a spark in someone's heart. These little flames, when shared, can brighten even the darkest corners. This story of Frosthaven is a reminder that we all have the power to create change, to bring hope, and to foster connection. Perhaps tomorrow, you might find an opportunity to be a spark for someone else, just as Alara was for her village. Together, these moments of kindness can create a legacy that shines far beyond what we can see. If this story brought you comfort or inspiration, it would mean so much to me if you subscribed to Fairytale Nights. Your support helps us continue to share these magical tales that soothe the soul and spark imagination. Thank you for being part of our journey and for letting us be part of yours. Sweet dreams, dear listener, and may your nights always be filled with wonder and warmth. Good night.